Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
The truth shall set you free.
You can't handle the truth.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
That's not how the Force works.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
I'd buy that for $1.
Hasta la vista, baby.
This woman has to be gotten to a hospital.
Hospital? What is it?
It's a big building with patients. That's not important right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Hello and welcome to the Creative Control Movie Podcast, brought to you by Zito's Gang, where we reshape cinema for the better. I'm your host, Kenan Akbala, and thank you for joining us for episode 7. So if you haven't joined us before, on each episode we discussed if we had creative control, how we would shape a future movie project or correct mistakes of the past. So joining me on today's episode, for episode 7, we have fellow Zito's Gang stars Sasha and Neil. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Very good, very good. How are you?
All good.
Fantastic. Right. So this is the second of a two-parter, really. So today's episode is about creative control over Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So in our last episode, we rewrote Star Wars history and discussed how we would have changed Episode 8, The Last Jedi. So if you haven't checked that episode out, stop here, go back, watch Creative Control Episode 6, then come back and watch this episode number 7. But if you have, we're going to roll straight on. So I can't remember who went first last time. Neil, I think it was yourself, but
Yeah, I went first.
we'll go back to you. So if you had creative control, what would you do? Can you remember where you left off on episode 8?
Okay, so where I left off, I think I pretty much have the notes. Moving on to now what is my episode 9. Sorry, it's so we start on Coruscant, right? And what I have is that basically the First Order, especially since the loss of Starkiller Base, Coruscant is now their base of operations. They're like, you know what? This is our capital. This is the capital of the galaxy. It was the seat of power. It's now our seat of power. There is no New Republic. We got rid of them in Force Awakens. So it's our way or no way. So they're there. And what we have is Phasma is conducting executions. She's doing public executions. So it's just like, you know, we just have a couple of random pilots that have been grabbed during other skirmishes. And she's just like, you know, taking them down, boom, one after the other. But they do like maybe say 5 a day or 10 a day or whatever the number is. Mm-hmm. And it leads to, you know, the announcement that it's like, but, you know, in a few days, we're going to have, you know, in a few days when our glorious leader Snoke arrives, we're going to have the, you know, the crowning achievement of executions. We're going to execute the traitor FN i.e. Finn, right? So it's like in a few days they're going to execute Finn. And with all of this going on, you know, we cut to Leia, and Leia's basically now, it's like, okay, she's trying to organize the amount of the resistance that she can muster up, because there's no New Republic. A lot of because of Hux and everything he did in episode 8, basically the rebellion is pretty scattered. So it's like trying to round everybody up, and it's like, look, we've basically been blown to the wind. We've only got this small amount of people left. What really needs to happen now is we go for basically last ditch attempt. We either take out the First Order. As they are right now, they're like celebrating and living the dream on Coruscant. We take them all out, or we take out as many as we can, or us and the galaxy is done. Like, you know, we're not gonna last another year. We're at the end now. We're running on fumes.
Yeah.
So while all this is going on, she's also arguing with Poe, because Poe's like, let's go get Finn. We need to mount a rescue of Finn. And she's like, are you crazy? It was like, there's not enough of us to do that anymore. right? It was like, I know you feel bad because he rescued you and wound up being captured in your place. I know how you feel, but this is not going to go down this way. While this is happening, you know, Luke, Chewie, and them arrive, and they're like, you know, he arrives and he's like, sorry, I've been gone so long. They reconnect. But his point is, he's like, I'm going after, they've kidnapped the girl Rey, and I'm going after Snoke, and I'm going to get her back. Like, I've been out of the fight too long, and all the time I've been out of the fight, everything's gone to shit, basically. Han's dead, and, you know, the rebellion is almost nothing. In short, I left and things got worse. So it's time I step up. So he goes to do that, and when he's like, I'm going after them, Leia's like, well, you don't know where they are. And Poe's like, well, most of the people are on Coruscant, so I think they're probably there too.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like, she's going to give him that look like, why are you talking now? And that leads to Luke's, well, he's like, well, that's the best place to start. And it was like, you know what? There probably is there, because it's just like Snoke to want to basically defile what was once the former height and seat of the Jedi by, you know, having the First Order there. So he, you know, he's doing on that. And I actually wrote a little tiny piece of dialogue, which is when he said that he's going to Coruscant, he's like, oh, you know, I'm going to go there. And he says that he's going to go and end Snoke. Like, he says the words, you know, end Snoke. And Leia's like, that doesn't sound very Jedi-like. And Luke's response is, well, it depends on the Jedi. Right? And when she asks him about Kylo, he had a line of dialogue where he says, darkness only exists when light fails to reach it.
Mm-hmm.
Which you can kind of take, you kind of take it as that's his, on one hand, you say it as it's a polite way of him saying, don't worry, I'm not going to try and kill your son. Right? I'm going to try and reach him and bring him back. But on the other hand, it's like, you can also kind of take it as, if he won't come light, if he won't rejoin the light, then he's got to go with the darkness and go the same way that Snoke and them are going to go when I get there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of like it. And then basically Poe and Chewie are like, we're coming with you. And Leia's like, nope, no, you're not. I got an absolute mission for the two of you. Right? She's like, I got a mission for the two of you to go on. Now we cut to Kylo, and, you know, on Coruscant, he walks into a room, Rey's in the room, you know, tied to a table or whatever it is. And he's like, so, you know, they tell me that, you know, you were training with Skywalker. And they have a dialogue about it. And the dialogue, you know, it's also a bit reminiscent of the fact that this scene happened already in episode 7, where they were tied to the table. But this time, even though she's tied to the table, it's they're more evenly matched verbally in their conversation, because they know each. Well, you know, she knows him better. Mm-hmm. So in their little dialogue, they're speaking, and he's like, you know, you need to join us, right? You want to learn how to use a lightsaber, how to use the Force. Join with us, right? And she's like, you know, no, there's not that many of you left anyway, because I saw what your uncle could do when he's not even connected to the Force, kind of thing. He's like, you know, you're nothing. And she's like, she really hates him, and, you know, he's being a bit like dismissive about Luke. And she's like, how can you be this way? You know, he's like, how can you kill your own father? Alluding to what happened with Han. And, you know, he's a bit like, you know, he doesn't outright admit to murdering him. I still kind of want that thing which Sash brought in, of you not knowing whether or not Han turned on the lightsaber or whether it was Kylo. But it's because I'm trying to make Kylo, you know, that it's like, he could possibly be full evil. He could probably not be. But, you know, she's like, you know, how could you kill him? And he takes a long time before he answers, but he answers and he says, Han made me weak. And, you know, what needed to be done was done. He doesn't say, I did what needed to be done. He's like, what needed to be done was done. And, you know, he's like, you know, a knight of Ren must always be strong. So then she gets like, you know, kind of snarky a bit. And she says, oh, did you feel strong when you killed Luke's wife and child? And then that kind of, it makes him think back to that day and think back to what happened. And, you know, that's when he's like, he gets angry and he's like, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. Luke doesn't even know what happened. Or like, Luke doesn't know everything. You know, that kind of spiel of, oh.
Yeah.
What do you mean? And that kind of, you know, like he looks like he's about to say more, but then he gets interrupted and someone's like, oh, you know, Lord Snoke's ship has arrived, you know, and he's like, So he storms off to go and, you know, have his conversation with Snoke. He gets to Snoke and Snoke is like, good, here you are. Hux, here you are. Knights of Ren, here you are, Kylo. And he's like being real congratulatory to them. He was like, my Knights of Ren. Because they basically, Kylo walks in and all the Knights of Ren are behind him. They're flanking him. And he's like, my Knights of Ren, you know, you've done so well, you know, you've ridded the galaxy of Skywalker. And he's talking, but, and then he basically is like, oh, Kylo, didn't see you there. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he was like, well, I'm congratulating them because they did a good job. They did what was necessary. They got rid of Luke Skywalker. What did you do? He was like, did you deliver the killing blow? He's like, no. Did you do this? No. It was like, well, why not? He was like, I wasn't there. He was exactly, you weren't there. He was like, and what do you bring me? You bring me another one of his students. And he basically says, you better hope that Rey isn't as good. You better hope she's not as good as you are. Because if she is, you might be getting replaced. So he's really just like, Kylo, I'm kind of sick of you now. You really haven't shown me anything. And he's like, maybe if you start acting like a Knight of Ren, maybe if you start showing me what you're about, maybe I'll treat you with respect, kind of thing. So he's like, you know, Kylo's like really pissed off, and he's like, oh, okay, cool, you know what? And he was like, there's some mention of Finn, so Kylo's like, okay, I'm gonna go torture Finn. Right? I'm gonna go take out my frustrations on him. And, you know, then we cut to Poe and Chewie. Their mission, they've gone to a secret kind of hideaway part of the galaxy to deal with their mission, and their mission is to get Lando. Right? I'm keeping that piece in. Their mission is to get Lando, because Lando is basically that, you know, other than Leia, other than possibly Luke, other than what could have been Han, the only person whose voice could just unite every rebel in the galaxy to come is Lando Calrissian. Lando, you know, he's the guy he's like, I'm the connect. I got the hookup. I know everyone. So Lando's like, okay, if Leia sent you to me, then that means she wants us to go round up all the rebellion, to go round up everyone that we can to come and deal with this. And, you know, kind of hint at like, oh, he knows, you know, like when it's like, you know, in Marvel, when it's like, oh, I know a guy. Yeah. It's like that moment of like, I know a guy, you know, so he's like going to round up some people. Cut back to Kylo. Kylo is now in there with Finn, and he's like, you know, I'm gonna just have a ball. I'm just gonna torture you and get all my frustrations out. Now that we know Finn is force sensitive, But Finn is the only person in here who's Force sensitive with zero training. He has no idea how the Force works, no idea what he can do with the Force, no idea of anything. He's running on pure emotion. And when Kylo's using his Force powers against him, the same way he did to Poe when he was torturing him, when he's doing that, Finn it's almost like a give and take, and Finn's sort of like getting images in his head. So at one point when all of this is going on, he starts to see images of like Kylo like standing over, you know, a woman and a child, and his lightsaber's lit, but he can see, almost like he can see it through Kylo's eyes,
like first person perspective kind of.
first person, so we can see it, but at the same time you can almost feel what Kylo felt at that time. So, you know, it's like he's suffering in pain, and then when he stops and he's like all breathing, and he's like, who's Mara Jade? And he's like, I saw you, why were you so sad? You know, it was like, what happened to you? And this is the moment where it's like, wait a minute, did Kylo not kill them? Was Luke wrong? You know, because now you've got a character who's just like, he's seeing it through his own eyes, and it's like, I felt what you felt, so I know something's different here. From that, you know, Kylo's like, you know, mind your business, and he leaves. And then we got so Luke arrives on Coruscant, and he's snuck in, you know, one person ship and all that. He's on Coruscant, and he's trying to work his way towards the Jedi Temple. Or maybe he's not the Jedi Temple. I would assume it'd be the Jedi Temple, because, you know, if I was Snoke, that's where I'd set up.
Yeah.
So he's going there, and as he's kind of sneaking there, he kind of gets caught, or he gets surrounded, and he's like, well, you know, I'm Luke Skywalker, so, you know, let me draw for the lightsaber kind of thing. And then what he finds out is it's Leia. And she's like, you didn't think I let you come by yourself, did you? And, it, you know, he's sort of like, you're a general, you've got an entire rebellion to run, and you're a good general. This is totally out of character. What are you doing here, kind of thing? And she's like, I've left, you know, someone trustworthy in charge, you know, which is a little cutback, and it's, you know, Akbar.
Yeah.
Man don't die for nothing, right? But she's left him in charge, and it's sort of like her basically point is, she's like, look, for one, you're my brother, and I can't let something happen to you. We've already lost Han. 2, that's my son. You know, if anyone's going to bring him back, it's going to be me. And 3, you know, she points out, she's like, you haven't been the same since Mara. I can't, you know, and it's sort of like, in the nicest possible way it can be phrased. I'm sure, like, if I was in control, a better screenwriter than I am would come and write the dialogue, but it would basically be like, I trust you to do what's right, but at the same time, maybe I don't trust you to do what I think is right. You know, so she's like, I don't want my son dead, and you may attempt to kill him. So that's the kind of thing they round up on. And, you know, this is my universe of doing it. So at this point, Leia can move about a bit, you know. She's not going to be in there like Yoda or nothing. But, you know, it's like she's good enough with a lightsaber and with the Force that should trouble arise, she can handle herself. You know, this is the same person who basically rescued herself when her rescuers were in danger in episode 4. So, you know, that's what's going on. And they make their way off to go kind of face off with Snoke. They wind up inside Jedi Temple / Snoke space. And working their way through, they find Phasma. They find Phasma, and they kind of do what they need to do. But the big takeaway is they get in, find Finn. And as they rescue Finn, the remaining knights of Ren, they show up and they're like, you know what? Kylo knew you'd come. Ensuing fight, which is, it's Luke, Leia, and like basically trying but not doing great Finn versus these Knights of Ren. Now, because of what happens in episode 8, there's not that many Knights of Ren left. If there was 7, when we first see him, there's now like 4. So, Luke, he's, reconnected with the Force, full whack. He takes out, he deals with his 2. Leia's dealing with her 1. Finn's getting, the shit kicked out of him, but he's not, he's not doing well, but he's not dying. And the result of that is they win, and it's like, they win and they start making their way off to kind of go find, to find Kylo and Rey and them. So while this is going on, Poe, Lando, and Chewie turn up to Coruscant, and they don't turn up alone. It's like, the whole First Order's there, and they now know, something's amiss because, certain people aren't reporting for duty and whatnot. So they start kind of, basically, they're like, all right, we need to go figure out what's going on. And sort of like what happens in the Rise of Skywalker, where all the ships turn up.
Yeah.
But I prefer to have it like that happening in space, but on the ground we have a similar thing turn up, which is, maybe Han and maybe it's like, not Han, sorry, Chewie and Lando are on the ground, or maybe it's Chewie on the ground with a couple of other people, and then when it looks like, oh, they're surrounded, they're like, actually, no, you're surrounded, and it's like, the better ground troopers people. So think of like, we have a whole kind of in canon amount of people from Star Wars, right? So you've got Star Wars Rebels and all of that, right? So you have a bunch of people turn up, throwing out names. Maybe it's Ashoka, maybe it's some of the guys from Rebels. It's, just a gang of people who could turn up. And in the sky, you got the same thing. Right, and in the sky, in space, you've got the same thing. You got the best pilots turn up and the best ground soldiers turn up. So full-on battle is going on everywhere. Arriving now in Snoke's chambers is Luke, Leia, and Finn, and they find Snoke, Kylo, and Rey are all there. And when you see her, it's like, Rey looks very disheveled and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool, what's going on? And it's like, well, look, it's just Kylo and Snoke versus, everyone else in the room, essentially. And Snoke's like, nah. It was like, I'm not here to fight no one. I'm here to watch. And it was like, look, none of us have intentions of killing Kylo, but at the same time, he ain't gonna beat all of us by himself. And Snoke just starts laughing, and he's like, oh, yeah, he's not by himself. And he's like, is he? And then Rey just says, no, master. And it's just like, everyone looks at each other, and it's sort of like, yeah, I've used everything in my, my resources to turn her. So she's like, the best way I can describe this is anyone who's seen the animated Street Fighter movie, this is like when Ken turns up to fight Ryu. Right? You've got that cloak on, and the cloak comes off, and immediately it's like, let's dance.
Yeah.
So it's that, and that battle leads it to being Finn and Leia trying to fight off Rey, and Luke going in against Kylo. So while all of this is going on, and everybody's battling, it's essentially Rey is clearly like has the upper hand against Leia and Finn, because Finn's untrained and Leia hasn't had to fight or anything in years.
Yeah.
So she's kind of got the upper hand because, I mean, you know, for the whole of the last movie, she's literally just training to be a Jedi. She was training to fight with Luke. So it's sort of like it's even but uneven at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The takeaway from that is that she manages to injure both of them. But it's like, you know, Leia basically uses as much of the Force as she can to try and like break the hold.
Yeah.
And, you know, while that's happening, Luke and Kylo are still going at it. And then this is one bit where I didn't know who I was going to have win this battle. Because on one hand, I wanted Luke to win.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, but I feel like if Luke wins, it's a bit too much like Return of the Jedi, where he wins and then he's like, I won't kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of have it that Kylo wins. I thought maybe it'd be better if Kylo wins. And then Kylo's won. And then maybe Luke says something to the effect of like, you know, you killed my family. You killed Han. And, you know, now you're going to kill me kind of thing. And then it's, you know, Finn who kind of pipes up. He's on the floor injured, but he's able to see this. And he pipes up and he's like, he didn't kill them. And it's like, you know, that kind of realization is like, there's good in him. I know that's very cliched Star Wars, but I kind of want that moment of
the final chapter,
where everybody's like, he didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, Snoke's like, of course he didn't do it. Right? He went in there. You're just like, I knew him. I knew him better than you did. I knew as soon as everything went to shit, he was going to go and try and save them. So I killed them before I started burning the temple down.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's that realization. It's like, oh, you did this.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, it's kind of like, you know, it's sort of not a Mexican standoff, but it's sort of at a point where at this, Luke is back on his feet. And I don't know how it would form, but it would basically wind up being Snoke versus Luke.
Mm-hmm.
And I would want it to be that Snoke, through, you know, underhanded tactics and treats and everything, he basically winds up winning.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sort of like, you know, everyone jumps in to get him. Like he beats Luke, so maybe he kills Luke Skywalker. Mm-hmm. But it's sort of like, oh, well, bye Luke, you know, you're done for. And it's kind of like he's going down like Qui-Gon Jinn. Mm-hmm. You know, Kylo's holding him. Rey's been broken from this trance, and she's there, and it's sort of like, you know, everyone's basically there with Luke, who's dying. And Luke sort of says to Ben, he's like, you know, not I forgive you, because obviously he's got nothing to really forgive because he didn't do it. He's just like, he says something to the effect of like, you know, we're all proud of you. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like the tipping point. So he's like, you know, we all love you. We're all proud of you.
Yeah, I say something similar like, like, you know, you are my nephew. I love you. Your father loved you. You know, focus on the love, you know?
Yeah. So it's, you know, because, and the core thing I want to be remembered from this is Luke never learned the whole thing of Jedis don't have attachments and don't love, because this is the same, he had a wife and a child. So all of that, like the prequels thing of these are the set rules of the Jedi, Luke never learned that. So that's not something he would pass on down to.
He changed it, evolved it anyway,
Yeah. So what it leads to is like Rey, she's like out of her little trance, and she's like, you know, looking at Snoke. Snoke's just sitting there, he's laughing, he's like, really? Like, you were supposed to be the best. You defeated the Empire, right? and your dying words is basically "I love you."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, that was waste. That was a waste. And you know, it was like, if it were me, I would have told you guys to run. They all band together.
Good line, I like that.
They all band together. So now it's Kylo, Rey, and even though she's injured, she's going to use the Force, Leia. And even though he basically doesn't know what he's doing, Finn, all attempting to deal with Snoke.
Yeah.
And the resulting end of it is a flirting with the idea that Leia bites the dust as well. But they win, basically. They kill Snoke, he's dead, dusted, bye, you know, lightsaber to the side of the head, he's not coming back, he's done. And, you know, up above, you know, outside, the battle's raging, but the rebellion, even with their minimal forces, are still kind of, they're winning. So it's like, you know, because their outlook is like, we got nothing left. And that kind of leads out to when, you know, when it gets broadcasted that Snoke's dead, you know, and obviously throughout all of this, you know, Hux is probably, you know, well, Hux, he's not going to die. I'm going to have Hux live, but he's going to definitely surrender, because I'm like, man like that don't need to die, right? I was like, he looks soft enough that, you know, look at him hard enough, he'll surrender. So, you know, having that Snoke's death ends it kind of thing. And that, you know, when they all come out, the First Order troops who are left, they're like surrendering and stuff. Because remember, these aren't clone troopers who are trained. You know, these aren't clone troopers who are, you know, genetically altered to never give up and never know, right? A lot of these guys were stolen as children.
Yeah, it's a different type of army.
Different type of thing. They're doing it, but it's like, you know, they're like, I'm not really about this. So, you know, the war is over, and it's sort of like, you know, Rey's there, and it's sort of like, so now what? You know, it's like, there's no Han, there's no Luke, there's no Leia kind of thing. It's like, what do we do? And Kylo's sort of like, well, they're with us. You know, obviously, because he knows all about Force ghosts and everything. So he's like, they're with us, you know, and like, I'm sure if we need them, they'll show us the way. And, you know, basically
Roll credits. Roll credits.
Yeah, well, I would say that, you know, the way it ends is like, you kind of look at it and your heroes have lived, obviously. And I don't know if I'd call it the Rise of Skywalker, but if it was the Rise of Skywalker, it's the rise of Ben, you know, even though Solo.
Yeah.
It's the rise of Skywalker to the Force Ghost plane.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But yeah, you know, we done. All the bad guys are dead. All the good guys are here and they're happy and cool. Have a little funeral for Luke and Leia. End credits.
Cool. Yeah, well, we got 2 for 1 there. So episode 8 and 9. That was really good. I really liked some elements there. You know, even Sash called it out and some stuff happened. Yeah, I think everyone's in agreement that, you know, Luke needed more of an integral part for the rest of the trilogy and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. I think I went second last time, so I'm going to do it now. I probably won't go as in depth as I did on the last episode, but kind of recap where I left it off. Snoke and we have Lord Ren now. They've escaped with Captain Phasma. They're heading back to Mustafar to heal themselves, including the Knights of Ren from the battle with Luke and stuff. And then out steps to the shadows Darth Maul. So I brought Darth Maul back. I broke the 2 apprentice rule, basically, because Snoke is just not your average Sith master. So it's not like 1 master, 1 apprentice. And we'll come on to more of that. The resistance on the Salt Planet. pretty much where we left them, like in the actual episode 8. But they're unable to be tracked now because the system was disabled. Luke and Leia, they've met, they've embraced, they understand the challenge that faces them. Poe sent a message out to Lando to reach him. And Leia, you know, she's like, you know, there's always hope. And Luke is like, he turns to Rey and it's like, we have much to learn. So that's kind of where we left off. So episode 9, start off with a bit of an action piece, a little bit similar, Millennium Falcon chase scene, but I wouldn't have Finn there. It's going to be Poe and Rose with the droids, and they're going to be out doing a run, whether it's intel or whatever it is. I won't have lightspeed jumping because Sasha will get upset. So I'm going to leave that out. When that happened, oh my God, he was so upset. So then we go back and we've got Luke and Leia, and they're training Rey and Finn, because we understand Finn is force sensitive now. You know, he demonstrated he can handle himself a little bit with a lightsaber. He took on Kylo and hurt him at the end of episode 7. And, you know, the force sensitivity played a little bit of a part in my episode 8. So they're training both of them. We cut to Snoke, and he's really disappointed with Kylo's performance in the fight with Rey and Luke, and questions if he made him a Sith Lord too early. So, you know, there's a sense of disappointment from him. They haven't had a signal back from Lando, so they send Chewie off to go track Lando down. Probably take BB-8 with him or something like that. So then we cut between the training of Luke to Rey, and also for Kylo at Vader's castle, both trying to find out more about Snoke and where he's come from. So Luke has done it from the Jedi Temple, the books and stuff like that, and he has been researching it for years because he felt his presence in the Force. Kylo, you know, he's always been his master, and he's been trying to find out a little bit about him, but now he's found Vader's castle. He's found that there's things in there that can give him some explanations. So what we learn is Snoke is the Prime Jedi, consumed by the dark side, and the years of the Force and using the dark side of the Force has damaged his body, which is why it's deteriorating. And he's actually learned to become a Force parasite, so he sucks the Force out of Jedi to regenerate himself. And this is why he's so intent on getting Luke and Rey, because he's felt Luke's Force, power in the Force. You know, Snoke is from the outer reaches of the galaxy, and I think it's a little bit in canon where even Palpatine felt some presence or some calling from the outskirts of the universe and stuff like that, and that's pretty much like Snoke, and he was like, you know, building up his powers and he's strengthening and stuff like that. And we found, obviously, which was touched on, is that the Force has kind of reached out to others, making them Force sensitive. So like the Force has kind of tried to spread itself rather than being on just particular people in Jedi. That's why Finn is Force sensitive. We saw that kid with the broom at the end of Last Jedi, you know, so there's others out there with the Force, and he needs to feed off this. But finding out about this, like Kylo questions Snoke's motives, you know, the fact that he was he was a Jedi himself, and stuff like that. And then we have the sort of the interchange between Rey and Kylo. So I do like kind of that mind melding between the two, where they're talking to each other through the Force, and they're both trying to understand their place in the Force and stuff like that, and what they've both found out about Snoke and stuff like that. And that's pretty much the journey, and I'm just leading up to a big fight because there'll be other little bits in between, but to try and get more of a sense, this is a huge crescendo battle. So what we're going to have is pretty much like you said. I'm going to have Poe lead the air dog fight in the sky. I'm going to have Rose do the land battle, so be in charge of the battle on the land against the troops and Captain Phasma, and Layla's going to be instructing the plan of attack from like her ship. So the final fight, I wasn't too sure whether first of all I thought I was going to have it at Vader's castle, but I was like, that's too much like episode 3 with the lava planet and stuff like that. I thought about the Jedi Temple, but I actually quite liked the visuals of Kef Bir, I think it was, which they actually had in episode 9, where they found the remnants of the old Death Star, you know, so like a water planet and stuff like that, because I quite like the visuals about that. You know, it could be quite cold and the wet and the rain and all that kind of stuff. And that's where your final fight is. So basically, it's all going to be leading up to this. You're going to have Snoke there. You've got Ren. You've got Darth Maul, and you've got the Knights of Ren. You've got then Luke and Rey, Finn, sort of heading to take them on. Now there's a bit of an outnumbering thing going on because the amount of them, Luke's, showing off his mad skills. He's probably taken a couple of Knights of Ren out. They're starting getting into difficulties, and then similar to you, Leia shows up in the room, lightsaber on. She's there to support the fight. Like you used to say with Luke, it's like, you didn't think I'd let you have all the fun or whatever it may be, So we have the brother and sister back-to-back fighting and stuff like that. I wanted to give Finn a bit of a moment because I felt so bad at how he'd been written out of the movies, pretty much, and his impact in it. And all he was like is, I can feel Rey, I can sense Rey. It's like, but I'm not going to do anything about it or tell her about it. So for me, it was just like, okay, how can I give him a moment? Okay, he's shown some skill with the lightsaber. So he's going to have a little bit of a tussle with Darth Maul. But obviously Darth Maul's multi-skilled. He's all about that. Foe's just barely saving his life. Finn, and then Poe comes down in his ship, starts firing down on the ground to where Darth Maul is, distracting him, giving Finn a chance, lightsaber, and to make sure he dies this time, cut through half, top to bottom, through the middle, not through the side with his metal legs, so straight down the middle. And so Finn has his moment that he's killed Darth Maul, like the big fucking bad, and it's just like, why the fuck not? But he's obviously done it in a way where if it was a one-on-one, he wouldn't have probably been able to do it.
Yeah.
The battle's raging on outside. Like you say, Lando shows up with Chewie, helps win back, with the extra support from the air and stuff like that. Coming back to the fight between the biggies, Snoke is actually hurt by Rey, and he's kind of like disgusted by this, and so he lashes out and he's about to kill Rey, and Luke actually sacrifices himself to save Rey. A little bit kind of like Obi-Wan-ish, just kind of like comes in, takes the hit, disappears, Force Ghost. So everyone's like, oh my God, Luke, no. And while that's happening, Snoke, he's been quite hurt by Rey. So then he starts to feed off Finn, who's close by. So he sucks his Force energy out of him, which leaves Finn down for the count. But because he's only Force sensitive, it wasn't enough. And so what he actually does is he then starts to feed off Kylo, who's the closest to him. He starts draining some of his life force. Just enough to get him back on his feet, but it makes Kylo collapse. So then you have a situation where Rey and Leia are both fighting Snoke. Kylo's trying to recover. He's just understand how Snoke's used him. And basically then Snoke knocks Rey down to the ground. It's him and Leia. And, he plunges his lightsaber into Leia and starts sucking the life force out of her as she's dying. And obviously Kylo sees that and he jumps to, it's like his mother, the instincts kick in, he goes to try and save her. Probably cuts off Snoke's other arm because I think I had him have an arm cut off in the last one, so he's already got one robotic hand, cuts off the other one that was holding the lightsaber. But what you see then is his arm just regenerates, because throughout this fight now, because he's taken the force of him and Leia, that force he's taken from Leia has actually improved his physical appearance. So his scars have disappeared, he's stronger, he's more fit, so the arm grows back, kind of thing. And you can see he's become more and more powerful. He wasn't able to do it with Luke because Luke died through sacrifice. He wasn't able to take his force because obviously when he died, his force took him in to be a Force Ghost. So, he just kind of took him away. So he wasn't able to get anything from him. And then we have sort of like a mind meld between Rey and Ben. A little bit like what we had in the Rise of Skywalker, where they hear the voices of the past. But I really liked, it's so OTT, but it's like we're going out with a bang, where they had all the Force Ghost Jedis, when they're speaking their lines, appear. And they all sort of like lean forward and help push the Force back through Rey and Ben Solo now, pretty much. He's kind of having his turn. And you see Yoda, you see, Luke is there. You see it's probably gonna have to be a young Anakin now, because that's how we saw him at the end of the Jedi. But technically that's wrong. But hey, so Mace Windu, what the hell? We'll say he died. Have them all there. Qui-Gon, they're all there as Force Ghosts, helping along. They end up beating Snoke, take him out. Ben manages to say goodbye to his mother because she's still quite not dead yet. He gets his arms, says his goodbye, similar to you. I love you. I'm proud of you. You are my son, kind of thing. She passes away, disappears because she's joined the Force. All the battle wins, big explosions in the sky. Probably a little bit like End of Jedi, I guess. Return of the Jedi, got big celebrations. You're going to have Rey and Ben sort of like trying to celebrate. And then he shows her how to see Force ghosts. And, it's like, then you see them all there. And Luke's going to be there. Leia's going to be there. But I couldn't have Han there because he wasn't Force sensitive, even though I wanted to see him there. But pretty much there'll be like a statue of Han Solo there. And it will have on like the statue on the plaque. It'll be like smuggler, rebel, husband, father, hero kind of thing. And yeah, then the cut to credits. So that's kind of how I'd have wrapped up the saga.
You forgot Nerf Herder.
Brilliant. So yes, that's my episode 9.
I like it.
Not as much detail as the last one, but it's hard to put a treatment together in a short space of time.
I think the hardest thing of this is trying to end it, because that it's like, even though this is creative control, that when you say end credits, there's nothing after that.
And I did it very much in the sense of I don't want to see an episode. I thought, do I see an episode 10 with Rey and that? But I was just like, nah, this is going to be the saga. Let's start telling some new stories with some new characters and stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of left it there. But as with any studio, when I leave creative control, there'll be someone else who comes in and thinks different and like, no, we're going to go episode 10. We're going to bring Rey back. We're going to bring Ben back, and we're going to bring Palpatine back, and all this kind of bullshit. So, Sasha, tell us about your episode 9.
I've got to add to 8 because I didn't finish 8.
Oh, you did have a couple of extra.
I did have a couple of bits. I didn't really think. I think because like I was all over the place because I was, what I mean. I had ideas, but I didn't have them written down. One thing I would take away, just a quick recap. So I introduced the whole Mara Jade thing with the kids and stuff. I very much wanted Kylo's journey to be that he was misunderstood and just fell in with a bad crowd. I wanted there to be a school. I wanted Snoke to be one of the teachers of the school, along with Mace Windu. Maybe Ahsoka Tano, I don't know, but like maybe not, because I wanted to save her for this movie. I'm not really, but yeah, you'd have Mace Windu, Snoke, Del Tecca from episode 7, who was played by Max Martin Schneider, have what's his name, the guy from Jedi, from the Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Search trilogy, from Dark Empire 2, Cam something rather, who was Luke's right hand man.
Something like that.
Huh? Sorry,
Cam something like that. Yeah.
Him. He was from Dark Empire 2. Sorry, I'm thinking of someone else in the Jedi Academy trilogy. But I'd have, because he was like Luke's right hand man doing the Academy in the EU and stuff. So I was like, okay, bit cameo. You don't really need to go too much into their characters other than, oh, I know who that is, like you would a Marvel film, because like I said before, I want to draw heavily from the EU, from the other various Star Wars canon that's out there and legends and stuff, and kind of give everyone their due. And for new people, very much, I'm going to quote Jon Favreau, because Jon Favreau was in an interview and he really nailed it on the head. It was kind of like, you have to respect what he did and what Kevin Feige does with Marvel. You have to respect the OG fans. You have to respect OG fans and give them what they want. And at the same time, you have to make the story. You're like telling two stories. You're telling one for the OG fans and one for new people that never really watched these films before.
Make it accessible, yeah.
Yeah. So whenever I bring like something new, it's because we're utilizing them for the story we're going to tell, which was why I brought in Grand Admiral Thrawn right at the start kind of thing, and make him the big bad in all of these things, a guy that has no force powers and stuff, and what he has to hold over these force users to get them to do his bidding, and his bidding is to fulfill Palpatine's legacy, which is kind of what it is. You know what I mean? Like in general, which is where I thought they were going to kind of go with these new characters in the original film. I didn't think they'd bring Palpatine back, but hey, you know, someone read Dark Empire a bit too much and thought that was cool without even thinking what George thinks. So, you know, and like I said, if you're going to draw from the EU, you've got to also look at what Lucas generally wanted to do with it as well, and draw upon those themes and ideas from the 6 movies and stuff, and not compromise those 6 movies, because they are the Bible in my world, and like most people. So without further ado, the stuff I'd change with what I said last time, only thing I'd take out really is that lightsaber battle between Luke Skywalker and the 2 Knights of Ren that I said, mainly because I was going to have a similar scene later on, but then I felt I'd be repeating myself and I didn't want to do that. I did like his standoff against Kylo in The Last Jedi, but I didn't like that he died, and I wanted more. So basically his last stand would probably, when he goes save Leia and that at the end, I wanted him to be there physical. Fuck that shit, he's still on the island, and he does it away from the island. And the main reason is because even though he hasn't been a Jedi, he even says that the Jedi should end, the Sith should end, it should all end. He's there to die. That doesn't mean he didn't look at other ways of the Force, and what I was thinking is probably he looked at becoming a Grey Jedi, a Bendu, if you will. If you look at other Star Wars media, that's a thing. But that's not something I want to bring to the table in 8, because he's cut off from the Force, very much so. But that doesn't mean he didn't look into it. With the other thing I didn't really develop was Poe and Finn. Now, Poe and Finn, I wanted to send them on an adventure. I kind of figure, you know, like I said before, you know, you get to know Poe's backstory through the Rogue Squadron, through the fighter pilots that he has a camaraderie, and they go on a mission. I was thinking more it be a heist, bring in a bit more of the underworld. I did mention not the planet Nar Shaddaa from Dark Empire and some of the video games and stuff, and have them go to that planet where they meet Lando. This is something new I'm bringing in. That we meet Lando in the second film rather than saving him till the end. Lays the groundwork, because with this film you meet a lot of rogues and smugglers and that kind of thing, and most importantly a pirate ship which is run by Captain Hondo from the Clone Wars, and who cameos in Rebels from time to time. And I would like Antonio Banderas to play this alien motherfucker, because, like, you know what? How he is in Expendables 3, that is Hondo like a T. So Hondo's a character much like Captain Jack Sparrow. You cannot trust this motherfucker. I'm talking Pirates 1, where, like, is he with us? Is he not with us? And that's his whole shindig. The other person I want to bring in, because because they're going to Nar Shaddaa, Poe Dameron outside of like all of that, spice smuggler, you know, he rolled with Han, so you know what I mean, like, he's wanted by everybody. Black Sun, the people that fucking Darth Maul deals with, everyone. He's wanted by everyone. He's the most wanted man there. He teams up with the girl from Rise of Skywalker, that kind of thing. But there's a mysterious bounty hunter after him who's basically fucking everyone for Poe Dameron, and his name is Boba Fett, because the Sarlacc pit found him indigestible.
Nice.
Which is his opening line of dialogue, because like Snake Plissken, everyone thought he was dead. With throughout this adventure, I want there to be lots of double cross and a lot of who did what and whom. I also was thinking maybe Boba Fett sends them to the Empire, gets paid by Grand Admiral Thrawn, and then breaks them out and ships them off to some other gangster and gets paid double and fucks off. Because that's what Fett would do.
Nice.
So I was thinking
This is the way.
Yeah, this is the way. So that's kind of where I was going. But the whole point is I wanted to bring Boba Fett back for the Boba Fett fans, and little nods to the Mandalorian, having that Mandalorian vibe, and having lots of double crosses and stuff, which would lead to whatever I said in the last podcast is all canon. In terms of Raylo, very much so. I want her to join him, and they fuck off both sides. Okay, and you think they live happily ever after. You see, now hang on, wait. Boba Fett returns. Okay, yeah, those were my points for episode 8.
Cool.
Oh no, one more thing. Just one more thing. Upon the whole smugglers thing, they go to other planets too, because you want to expand the world and the universe, and maybe have throwbacks. One of those throwbacks, Rose Poe Finn, getting names mixed up. Kind of says how memorable those guys are. But they end up on Naboo. They end up on the planet of Naboo from episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and Attack of the Clones. Actually, all those prequels, I think it's in. But anyway, they end up there, and you kind of get a sense of like what their mission will send them there primarily at some point to get to Nar Shaddaa. But when you get there to this throwback planet, you kind of see where Naboo is and stuff. You got Gungans living in harmony with like the Naboo kind of thing. So you've seen like Boss Nass they've integrated their cultures and stuff a little bit, and so seeing a Naboo up in the palace and seeing a Gungan in the palace and shit is kind of normal. No, we won't be bringing back Jar Jar, I don't think. In episode 8, we won't be bringing Jar Jar all back.
Maybe there's a statue of him.
But you won't. Maybe. I don't think so. Maybe Boss Nass.
Maybe he's like the rug.
Maybe he's the
rug
with that tongue out. Yeah.
You know what? As much as we hate Jar Jar, because we're in our 40s and we're older, and when we watch that film, we're like, "What the fuck is this guy?" There is a whole generation of people that grew up and love him, and there are people that I've actually met that say, growing up, that was their favorite character, and I was kind of shocked by this. But my buddy John, who was on the podcast a few weeks back, on the main podcast a few weeks back, John is a huge prequel defender because that was his Star Wars. He grew up with that. So so I won't disrespect Jar Jar. I won't kill him off. George didn't want to kill him off. I think Ahmed Best would have something to say about that. And
I would have a picture up on the wall and just saying ousted from the planet for putting Palpatine in charge.
yeah. So but point being is they're about, and what we learn here is that there's no royal family anymore. It's all by politicians and stuff, and the whole reason for that is the last royal family got executed by Snoke.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's a missing heir to the throne. There's a missing heir to the throne that no one can find, and they're not going to proceed with that shit until the heir to the throne is brought into the fray, kind of thing. So there's a missing heir. So basically, what that leads into 8. We come into 8. We begin with.
You're in 9 now, right?
Sorry, 9 even.
Yeah. Okay.
We begin with a Star Destroyer over Coruscant. We are borrowing from Colin Trevorrow because, like Neil has said, and you've kind of said, well, I really do think you should have a throwback to the prequels, and I think Coruscant is probably a good place for the end game. Okay, it's the planet, of that began the journey and whatnot. So fuck it, we're gonna go Coruscant. Now on Coruscant, on Coruscant, it's quite literally Independence Day there. Every citizen's looking up, they're seeing some big massive Star Destroyer, okay? And it's like some super duper big fucking thing, okay? Like one of the biggest we've ever seen kind of thing ever. And basically, yeah, aboard it isn't Grand Admiral Thrawn. We would think from the last movie, because he was calling the shots, that he's on there. But no, he's left his number 2. And it's not Captain Pelion from the books. Hux has actually become the number 2. Pelion's with Hux kind of thing, and Hux is calling the shots. Obviously, he's not really calling the shots because Thrawn, he's just doing what Thrawn told him to do. Yeah. So, do you know what I mean? Because Thrawn, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, bro, you deviate from the plan, yeah, you dead. That guy don't mess around, otherwise Rook's coming for you. Speaking of which, what's that? Speaking of which, on that particular Star Destroyer is Rose and Nine Numb. Nine Numb, for refresher for people that aren't familiar with Star Wars, he's the guy that's friends with Lando Calrissian on the Millennium Falcon in Return of the Jedi, that showed up in Force Awakens and all these films, but was wasted. Well, he's become a fan favorite, you know, in the EU. So I would have had Rose and Nine Numb. They're on there like a spies kind of thing, undercover, and then basically they get rumbled. Whatever happens, they thought they could like destroy the ship from within before this fucking thing. They have failed. Rook has rumbled them, and Rook has executed Rose. We've killed Rose Tico. We've executed her.
Controversial.
By Rook, okay? Wow. And Rook is a bad motherfucker, okay? And he's Tonk. And not only that, he's like some alien dude that could fuck shit up. So having Rook tussle with Finn would be, you know, pretty good, considering he's just murked and killed Finn's friend, okay? And that's kind of Finn's kind of journey, kind of thing, whether Scary Lion has to fight one of the most scariest aliens in the whole fucking Star Wars universe, kind of thing. So yeah, that's Finn's journey, revenge. Which is not a Jedi's way, but you know, he didn't train. He didn't train. So yeah,
he had no montage.
Yeah, so yeah, Nine Numb escapes with his life. Okay, he escapes. He proper escapes. Okay, and then he sends a distress beacon, which reaches the Resistance. Cuts to Death Star remnants, that planet with the Death Star in water and stuff. And it is Ferris, who is a Knights of Ren, who is Ferris from Clone Wars. Okay, little backstory into who Ferris is. She's the one that sets up she's the Jedi who turns Dark Jedi under Count Dooku that sets up Ahsoka, which led to Ahsoka being banished from the Jedi Temple and stuff, and that's why she's no longer a Jedi in the Clone Wars kind of thing, because she was set up, and then when she's proven innocent and Barriss was the one and Anakin whoops her ass, she goes under trial but disappears forever. No one knows where she is according to canon, and I kind of think she should be one of the Knights of Ren. So Barriss is there. She knows Palpatine has some secret shit in there, not a Sith wayfinder, but you know, they find some Sith knowledge, because that's what
MacGuffin.
That's the MacGuffin for these guys, because Snoke is dead. Snoke is after Sith knowledge. Okay, they found some, and they've also found a location off a secret Sith temple, kind of thing, and that destination just happens to be underneath the main Jedi temple on Coruscant, because that Sith temple is actually an ancient Sith. Like, I don't know whether I said it before to you guys in the previous podcast, but my idea is, well, it's not my idea, it's George Lucas's idea. The whole idea is that there is a Sith temple underneath the Jedi temple. That's where Darth Sidious goes down from his office to go do some Sith shit. But most importantly, that temple is what kind of blocked the Jedi from sensing Sidious in the first place, kind of thing, because they were clouded by the dark. There was a lot of dark side energy in that temple that was clouding what they could see. They couldn't tell whether there was a Sith Lord right under their noses, and that, you know, That's why. So these guys just found out there's a Sith temple underneath there. Thing is, the Sith temple, you need not just someone that is training to be a Sith, but you also need a Jedi to open the temple, to go further into the temple anyway. And further into that temple is some ancient Sith knowledge that even Palpatine couldn't get. Something dark, something from the Knights of the Old Republic days, something from the Darth Bane days. So, like, obviously, that's what Snoke was after from day one. That's why he needed Luke Skywalker. And these guys want that shit. It's like crack to them. It's like crack to them. Okay, so that's what we learned. Now we go to wherever we left Poe. Poe has been captured. He's been sold. Okay, and you know, his friends have been trying to track him down, and Finn teams up with Kylo Ren to rescue Poe. Basically, Kylo has been sent through his mother, kind of thing. She force connect. What you learn is that she force connect with him. She's got his back, but he hasn't been, you know, doing Jedi shit or working with the Resistance. Him and Rey very much went their way. But what happened is Rey decided she wanted to become a Jedi, and she actually went to train with Luke after that. They're still very much a couple, despite Luke not liking him, and he doesn't want to face his uncle. So it's quite that kind of dynamic. So we get to see Finn and Kylo kind of bond on this mission, and you see what their dynamic is, right? Like when they rescue Poe, you kind of get that Poe and Finn's dynamic is very much Cap and Iron Man's kind of dynamic in Civil War now, because obviously even though Finn's trying to prove himself to Poe, Poe's like, fuck you dropped the ball. You know what I mean? He's still a bit kind of thing. And that kind of goes into later on, they develop and they're like boys again. But yeah, so with Kylo, the most important thing here is that it's an adventure with Kylo to show that trio how they work as a dynamic kind of thing. They rescue Finn, cuts to Coruscant being under attack. These guys know they've got to do something, and then cuts to the island. Rey has failed her training again. She's failed her training again for whatever reason, but she has built her own lightsaber, and her own lightsaber is a double-bladed saber based off her bow staff. Okay, it's her own design, her own thing. She's passed that side of the training, but the one part of the training she can't face her own fear because she's still trying. You know what I mean? Like whatever, I don't know, Jedi shit. I haven't put that much thought.
Parents.
I haven't put that much. Yeah, parents. Okay, cool. I haven't put that much thought into it, to be quite honest. But the point being is, she gets a message that she's needed by Leia, so she leaves Luke. As she leaves, First Order ship comes, and down comes Crip Duran, who's Luke's former apprentice, aka the same Crip Duran from the Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Academy novels, who was his apprentice that turned to the dark side. And basically you get another Knight of Ren as well. And it's kind of like you were but the learner, but now I'm the master. And it's like, no. It's like, no, you're not, mate. No, you're not. You've chosen the wrong side. Luke would never kill Kip Duran because of like his backstory and stuff, and you know they're quite close. So he disables him, kills the other guy, and then he's like gonna sort out those troops. He decides, in this lightsaber battle as before. Obviously, he threw away his lightsaber disrespectfully. We have that lightsaber fight where R2 fires out the green one, he grabs the other one. If he loses both sabers, well, in Dark Empire 2, Luke Skywalker has another weapon up his sleeve, which I thought was really cool, because in that he tries to choke Han, because obviously in Dark Empire 2, Dark Empire 1, he goes to the dark side for a bit. And his metal hand is actually a rocket hand. So if you ever played Metal Gear Solid 5 with the rocket hand, very much that, if any of you guys played that. So basically what happens is he's lost his light, he loses his lightsaber, they go to hit him, he fires his hand goes like a fucking rocket, hits someone in the face, and then comes back, and then he puts it on. I want that as part of the fight, because one, it'll look cool, and two, no one would expect it, and people that know would be like, oh yeah.
Oh shit.
Have him roll up like
no, that's a feature you can sell on a toy, son.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, Rocket Hand Luke is back, okay? But yeah, so he goes, he sees an army of like First Order troops, and he's like, okay, well, you guys need more men. And then Grand Admiral Thrawn comes down. Yeah, shit's about to get real. Luke Skywalker they have like a to and fro. Then Luke Skywalker goes for Grand Admiral Thrawn. Grand Admiral Thrawn whoops their shit out of Luke Skywalker, because Luke Skywalker can't use his powers. Okay, just straight up cannot use his powers, and all Grand Admiral Thrawn does is dodge him. Mm-hmm. Like literally, one of those martial arts is where everyone's, yeah, you just dodge, cool, trip. Oh, I thought you were a Jedi Master. You disappointed me. Take him away. Done. Done. He's got his lizard thing on the thing. Maybe that's like giving a cheeky little grin or a smile. I don't know, like something for comedic effect. But the fans would know, because like you can't do shit with Thrawn, bro. He's all prepared. And then he turns around to Sidrus, who's who's a Knight of Ren in Dark Empire 2, is a dark side accolade, which is more or less Inquisitor, I guess, in this canon. So like I said, with the Knights of Ren, I've made them Inquisitors, if that makes sense, what that would have been, but they have no master. So Sidrus, from the previous movie, I haven't really gone into him, but he's stayed very close with Grand Admiral Thrawn. He's, like I said, I want Grand Admiral Thrawn to have a dark sider with him at all times. It's going to be Sidrus from Dark Empire 2, and he's very much going to be the Knight of Ren that's going to go for the power, if you know what I mean. It's going to be him and Ferris, okay? They're the two you got to watch out for. Everyone else is just cannon fodder, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, so they capture Luke, and now they're going to join the Battle of Coruscant, kind of thing. While that's going on, loads of shit happens. I don't know what shit. I haven't really thought about it, man. Boba Fett will be in there somewhere, no doubt, because the way I've introduced it there, because I've got a reason for that. Okay, but yeah, the temple. Okay, so big space battle in the air. That's going to be Poe and his crew. He's trying to like take out as many ships and stuff. There'll be an action sequence with Leia, where Leia and a whole elite troop of like rebels, they decide to take down a Star Destroyer and hijack one, so they've got one for themselves. And I want that action sequence kind of in remnants to A New Hope, the introduction, where you've got like stormtroopers down the corridor and they're like, what's going on? And then there's a big battle, and then she walks out like how Vader would have, and then maybe even have a bit of Rogue One with Leia, and she's just like fucking shit up, you know what I mean? And like and then she's like, yeah, well, I didn't need my guards, I've just taken down a fucking Star Destroyer by myself, I'm in command of it, let's fucking set base camp there and take out that Star Destroyer. So that's the kind of like action sequences I'm after. It's like big massive space battles with Poe and his X-Wing pilots in their X-Wings, Leia not just commanding a ship, but like literally like fucking chopping motherfuckers in half. And yeah, so what happens is Luke's captured now. Eventually, in a turn of events, Kylo gets captured by the Knights of Ren along with Rey. Okay, they all get captured. They all go down to the end game. The end game is the temple. Okay. In the temple, obviously they explore it. You get a little bit of history, what Darth Sidious was doing during the prequels, blah 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 blah, and then comes the door where it opens, like, you know what I mean, where you need a Jedi Master and an apprentice, and Thrawn is with them. And you know, there's no reason for Thrawn really to be there other than you got, you know, no force powers can be used here. So he basically explains like a lot of backstory, kind of like why he needed Snoke, blah blah blah.
Exposition.
Yeah, and why they're there. And this is where we find out we need Luke Skywalker to open the fucking door. Okay, he's the key to the door, and you know, he's being reluctant. He's like, fine, we just need your hand. You know what I mean? Just you know, to open this door or whatnot. And what they do, they're like, do we need? So what? Yeah. So what they do, he shoots Luke in the chest. Luke, you know, the door's opened. You know what I mean? That the door's opened, and then, yeah, he's like, later, I'm on my way to battle. He fucks off. Luke's bleeding out, and then one night a friend decides to go in, and he basically fucking dies, head rolling. Yeah, it's not Temple of Doom, it's Last Crusade all over again. Exactly. So Luke Skywalker's Sean Connery.
In the Lucas
He's like Sean Connery. He's bleeding out, kind of thing. Only the penitent man can pass, and all of that shit, basically. Now, remember, Rey's failed her trials twice now. Third time's a charm, bitch, because they send in 2 Knights of Ren. They get whooped. Obviously, the other Knights of Ren are like, well, I ain't going in there. You know what I mean? Ferris is there, and Ferris is in charge, and she's like, okay. Looks at Rey, you're going. You know what I mean? And then Rey goes. It's kind of like, remember your training. Mm-hmm. She goes in, and she passes. You know what I mean? Like Indiana Jones style. You know what I mean? That's that whole thing. And it's kind of like a homage to Force Awakens, because you see her as like a treasure hunter and stuff, and you can see her do it. You know what I mean? I want it to be kind of like an Indiana Jones kind of thing a little bit, because it's an old temple and shit. Mm-hmm. So she goes in, and then what happens is, outside, you know, away from that shit, First is following her like fucking Elsa from fucking Last Crusade. She's following her because she wants the fucking knowledge. She ain't letting Rey get that shit. Do you know what I mean? So she's going in there along with another Darksider as well. And outside, you've still got one night of probably like 2-3 Knights of Ren, however many are left. Mm-hmm. You got Kylo Ren, and you got Luke Skywalker, and you've got else you got loads of troops, maybe. Mm-hmm. Okay, and basically what happens is Luke Skywalker is back with the Force now. At this point, he's not cut off anymore. He's back with the Force in full tune, and then basically he reads Kylo's mind, and he sees what happens that day, kind of thing, and most importantly, he sees what happens with Han. Turns around to Kylo and says, I forgive you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you had it that Han turned the blade on himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. The minute he says, I forgive you,
mm-hmm.
Kylo now has the strength to do what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
He decides to take the 2 Knights of Ren out, basically, and starts fucking everybody up. So then what happens is, you know, obviously something happens. I don't know. They get the knowledge. They come out. They heal Luke. But Sidrus is there now. Ferris is there. They've got the knowledge. And what's it? They're a big lightsaber duel. I've obviously not thought about this right. It sounded cool in my head, but like, yeah.
Yeah, not blow for blow, but yeah, go on.
But yeah, so big lightsaber duel happens with all of them. But what happened is, while Luke was down, because they've still got loads of troops on the floor, you know, Coruscant's been taken over, kind of thing. So what Luke was doing while he was like bleeding out, he was actually using the Force to send a message, kind of thing. Send a message. And the other thing, another message, like, you know, like beacons, like Gondor sending out a message. With Coruscant, you couldn't send a message because the planet was being invaded and stuff, so they scrambled the signal. Have like a storyline where someone's trying to unscramble the fucking signal to send out shit so more troops could get to Coruscant, you know, for that Avenger style showdown kind of shit. So what happens is all the remaining Jedi that were from the temple before, they would have got that message to head to the Coruscant Jedi Jedi temple. You would have got Mace Windu, you've got Ahsoka Tano and Faris have unfinished motherfucking business. Yeah, just saying. And when that unfinished business happens, basically Clone Wars fans will get that lightsaber battle they want with those two. But you don't need to tell the audience that. They're just going to fight, and people are just going to go, oh, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So Faris is with them. Sidris is with Kylo Ren and Rey because he's like probably the most like, yeah. And Luke's kind of like given the fight to them and said, you guys have got this kind of thing. His job is for the bigger fight, which is helping Leia destroy, like, you know, all that, you know, all the ships and stuff. He doesn't get into an X-Wing. No, he's a Bendu, okay? He learned that shit. Look up what a Bendu is. Watch what they do. That's what Luke does. That's how they win. That's how everyone wins. Okay, Luke Skywalker single-handedly destroys fucking everybody, and it'll be spectacular. Okay, they don't even need half the shit. They're probably overloaded. Oh yeah, Boba Fett. Boba Fett has a fight with Mace Windu. Mace Windu dies. I avenged my father's death. Laters. Sorry, Samuel Jackson fans. Sorry, Samuel Jackson fans, but like, sorry, you can't kill a Mandalorian off like a bitch and not expect some payback. I'm just saying, like, it's just so yeah, I don't know, man. And then by the end of everything, you find out that like Kylo dies. He's dead. He fucking dies in this. I don't know how. Somehow he dies. And then basically at the end of it all, it's like, okay, well, I'm no longer a Jedi. Luke kind of has that like thing where it's like the two sunsets going down and shit, and his last shot is him walking off into the sunset kind of thing, and that's the end of the movie. But before he goes, like, she's like, oh, so am I the last Jedi? He goes, no, you're not the last Jedi. He is. Looks at her stomach. Boom, Kylo's kid. Laters, walk off, sunset. And yeah, that's how I did it. Oh yeah, by the way, she finds out she's a princess.
Oh, what, Rey?
Yeah.
Oh, so she's
the missing princess.
Oh, okay.
Her parents get executed.
Did I miss what happened to Thrawn?
Huh?
Did I miss what happens to Thrawn?
Oh, what happens to Thrawn? Oh,
Yeah.
Thrawn gets fucked up by Luke, bro.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. He either gets fucked up by Luke, or I don't know. Here's the thing. I would either have, okay, so if you look at what Bendus do, Bendus aren't dark, aren't light. They're like in the middle kind of thing. And they have some crazy force powers abilities. So, for example, when he disappeared in Last Jedi kind of thing, I thought maybe that's where they're going, because they showed that in Rebels. And like, he could disappear, and then basically he's now, just watch the clip on fucking YouTube, seriously. Just, I don't want to say it here. I want people to like fucking do their research. Take it out for themselves, yeah. Yeah, because he's just gonna fuck shit up, man. Awesome. I want it to be like one of those moments in the battle where people think all hope is lost and shit. Like, have a couple of moments, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, is that Luke Skywalker? What the fuck kind of fucking force power is this? Because he has to be super powerful, and if you haven't got a Snoke, do you know what I mean? And I've already given him 2 kick-ass lightsaber battles. What more do you guys want? You know what I mean? And I'm not going to kill him off either. I refuse to. Look, they killed off Han. I'm not killing off Luke and Leia, okay? That's just too devastating for fucking Star Wars fans, man. Just like, I know.
Something.
Yeah, got to leave them with fucking hope, man. Like, maybe they'll get a 10 with this new kid.
I killed him off for the sole reason that he could return to his family.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. But it's about him learning to accept that's part of life, and you know, that was Anakin's journey. That was Anakin's journey. Luke was always about hope, and you know, I mean, his art. The way I see it is that for the most optimistic Jedi that we've had in the original trilogy, yeah, he takes a dive, but you know what I mean? It's all about what happens when we fall, learn to get back up, as fucking Alfred would say in Batman Begins. So, you know, like, done. And, you know, he gets to walk off into the sunset. The fans get to go, will there be a spin-off film? Seeing what Bendu's all about.
Ain't getting a spin-off, so.
Yeah, yeah, no, don't give him a spin-off. He getting dead. He getting dead. And then I know some people might find like disappointment there, but I'm like, bro, like fucking Django got fucking decapitated. You don't think Boba Fett did not grow up with some trauma, man? Come on, man. Yeah. It's like we need some Django justice.
Django Unchained.
The other thing I might add is that with the whole Finn. Oh yeah, Finn fights Phasma and wins. Finn fight Rook, he wins.
Cool.
And I want fucking oh yeah, he's force sensitive. And the way I want to leave Finn off is that he has an option to train with Luke as his next apprentice. Cool. So it's kind of like, okay. And what was the last thing? There was something I was going to add, and then I added that. Shit, what was it? Fuck. Get it in there. It's gone. But yeah, no, that's roughly what I got. I mean, it's not much, but you know, I don't really think about how I'd improve these films. I'd much rather more talented people make a better version. But but like I said, I was drawing off like what I know as a fan, etc. I'd probably throw in,
and that's what we could tell the difference. So like, you know, I think I've come very much from like just purely a movie point of view.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the in-depth history and knowledge of you. You know, I watched a bit of Rebels, haven't watched the Clone Wars and stuff. So, you know, where you're coming with someone who's read the books, you've got a lot of canon behind you, non-canon stuff, so you're able to draw on a lot more characters and probably pay a lot more homage to the OGs and stuff like that. And you know, Neil's got a bit of the both. So I think between the three of us, we've covered so many different potential angles. How they ended up doing what they're doing, I don't know. Because between the three of us, we've come up with 3 versions, which are better than what we got. But hey, that's the movie business, right?
I think it's probably the luxury that, you know, we haven't had, you know, the power and the might of Disney bearing down on us and being like, what are you spending my $200 million on?
See, in one iteration of what I had, I wanted Chewie to fight Rook.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That might work as well, because like it's one big beast versus another, you know. But like, I think if Rook killed what's her face, Rose, Finn would have a lot more to say about that.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, like a lot more to say about that. Oh yeah, I remembered what it was. So like in this epic space battle, okay, so you get Rogue Squadron, you get the Falcon. In the Falcon, it's piloted by Lando, Chewie. Wedge is in one gunner seat. 9 Num is the co-pilot rather than Chewie. Chewie's in a gunner seat. So you got 9 Num and Lando reunited back together again. Give them a moment to nod. You know what I mean? How you been? Blah, blah, blah. What you doing? You know what I mean? Because like, you know, fans like that. And then also maybe throw in some Lobbot in there. Lobbot from like Cloud City, have him in there. So you got like a little crew on the Falcon. The Falcon's doing shit with those guys. And then you've got, what's it? I think they had General Sadula's ship for the Ghost in the original film, so put that in there as well. Have Boba Fett Slave 1 in there, and obviously show, oh shit, fucking Mace Windu, I'm going to fucking deal with that guy. And then fucking Trade Federation, I want them to come in. The Trade Federation, those get me my droid deckers, I want them in there. So it's like, oh, okay, it's like you know, they're joining in the fight now, because obviously they're not in allegiance with Sidious no more. It's years later, so they're like, fuck, this is a fight for the galaxy. We're coming in with our little round things and stuff, and our Japanese looking shit. And then fucking who else would I bring in there? Fucking yeah, Luke Skywalker just takes out everybody. Fuck.
Maybe you have Jar Jar's crew come from underwater.
Yeah, there we go. So we get Naboo fighters, yeah, and that's when Jar Jar comes in. No line of dialogue, guys in a fucking thing, and everyone's like, "Is that Jar Jar firing a fucking Naboo starfighter?
Oh, they're gonna die!"
And then first thing, maybe that's where it gets destroyed, and everyone claps.
Yeah,
yeah. There we go.
That's an ending, man. Shit.
So yeah, basically, I just want everyone to like just show up, kind of thing, and just like have their little moment. Have Babu Frick show up as well, because he was like the one thing that I liked in Rise of Skywalker. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting this. Okay, right. So back to droid deckars and their fucking starships and their fucking the Trade Federation guys, right? So I'd have like an old fucking war droid that they had that is kind of like a mecha kind of thing. It comes in. I'd have one R2D2 reprogram the thing, and R2 basically transforms this Transformers in space kind of Gundam style, and R2D2 is murking ships out.
Oh, snap.
And then basically it'll be the big fuck you to BB-8 basically. And throughout this movie, I want R2 and BB-8 to be like top trumping each other, like fuck you, or fuck you. And that's R2's final fuck you, and R2 should save the day.
When you said that, you know what I had in my head? I had in Lord of the Rings, Legolas and Gimli.
Totally. But droid version.
How
many have you killed? How many have you killed?
Totally. That's what I want.
It's funny how no one's mentioned C-3PO in any of our versions.
But no, one thing I would say that I really wanted originally, though, and I don't think I've iterated here, but I'd taken much more talented writer than me. But after watching Lord of the Rings, I would really like Finn to be the Samwise Gamgee character. If that makes sense. So you give John Boyega like a whole arc to shine, and you know what I mean? And maybe something he does, if it wasn't for that, nothing would have happened, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where I was going with his character, but I can't think of a scenario that would lead up to that, but that would be a character beat that I would want. It'd have to lead into the Poe and Finn story, most definitely. So yeah. But yeah, that's all I got, man.
Cool. No, mate, there's plenty. Awesome stuff. So, well, I hope listeners enjoyed our versions of episode 9. Let us know in the comments what you think. Which versions did you like? What bits did you like out of each of the versions? Which bits you thought, no, you're way off point here? Let us know in the comments. In the meantime, Sasha, where can people find you on social media?
You guys can find me on Sashman3 on Twitter. I do apologize for people that I've not really added. It's just I'm freaked out by people like who I don't know asking to be my friend. I've got to stop doing this and start following everybody. If I've rejected you, refollow me again.
Follow if you don't like them afterwards, block them. Easy.
You know what it is? It's just like there are people actually following me now, and I'm just like, how do I know? I'm still in that. How do I know this person? And then I keep forgetting until I actually do the podcast. I realize I have a podcast, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside of that,
listen to what you have to say.
Outside of that, I never really realized. I didn't even think that many people listen to us. But then I checked like the old numbers from the podcast before people listen to us. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Neil, where can we find you on the World Wide Web?
You can find me on Shoot for Moon Pics on Instagram. That's it.
Cool. And you can find me on Twitter at Canon Talks Film. So yeah, again, please let us know your thoughts on the episode and in the comments. Suggest some movies for us to discuss in the future. You can catch all our episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, various platforms. So if you like what you do, please like, subscribe, and share our podcasts across social media, all your different platforms. If you thought it sucked and we have no idea what we're talking about, then send it out there so people can comment on us anyway. That'd be great. Thanks very much. Yeah,
you don't want the smoke.
Yeah, I want all the smoke. Thanks very much for listening. Until next time.
Peace.
Peace.